We've both been busy beavers. And you know when I'm dressed up and I got a shirt on, you know what that means.
We have a guest today. So I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise.
We're going to unpack some shit with you. We've got Mr. David Hollingsworth joining us. This is his book, Get Out the Door. We're going to talk about that. So before David joins us and we introduce him, I'm sure you have some snappy little topics you would like to get to.
Okay, so I don't know how what your relationship to sunglasses are. What's the most money you've ever spent for a pair of sunglasses?
$200.
$200?
Yes.
And can you put your hands on those glasses now?
Yes.
What?
They're prescription sunglasses. And I bought them last year. No, they were actually over $300. Yes, but I take very good care of my sunglasses. If I buy cheap sunglasses, I toss them about. I have 2 or 3 pairs that are quite expensive, and I keep them in special little cases in a special place in my room.
I bought expensive sunglasses, not $300, maybe $50 for a nice pair, Wayfarers, whatever. They can't last a month before I lose them.
Well, you're in Florida too, and I found I wear sunglasses a lot more in Florida than I do here. It's kind of shady. You almost don't wear shades here. You really have to look people in the eye.
It's sad how I just lose stuff. I mean, I was given a nice leather jacket. I wore it for 10 days and I left it behind at a bar. I got another leather jacket that was an antique from somebody else. That also lasted about 2 weeks before I left it behind in a bar somewhere, or whatever the hell it is. It's like I can't be trusted to do anything. So, having said that, look what I discovered at the dollar store. Polarized sunglasses. Polarized. This is changing the industry for $1.
Yes. I do agree with you, Tom, that there are so many manufacturers out there now. You can get amazing looking sunglasses. One of my favorite pair of sunglasses I bought for $10 on the beach in Venice when I was there a couple of years ago. And I always get compliments. They were $10. So you can spend a little bit of money on glasses. And I think the dollar store has a lot of great value for things like that.
Because I buy them in bulk because I know that I'm going to lose them. I bought 3 pairs of sunglasses, invested $3, and I put them in the car. And I told this to Patrick, when I went to gather my sunglasses, I only had 2.
Yeah.
So between the store and the door, I lost a pair of sunglasses because I checked the receipt.
Yeah.
I said, there are 3. I have 2.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is you're not upset about it because they're $1.
I'm not allowed to have nice. This is why I can't have nice things.
No, that's really funny. Well, before David gets here, I do really quickly want to show everybody a photo. And I know if you're on iTunes, you can't see it, and I'll try to describe it. But of course, I'm a little obsessed with where this rocket's going to crash because New York is one of the places. I happen to live in New York. I'm going to hold this up to the screen, and I'm hoping that you can, I don't know if the ring light's going to mess this up. Here's the swath. That's why it seems crazy. That it could be Beijing or New Zealand or New York, because this is the path it's traveling, right?
Yes.
And so it's circling the earth every 90 minutes. They've narrowed it down to it's going to hit between Saturday night or Sunday morning. So happy Mother's Day, everyone, for that. And they said we'll have about an hour's notice.
What did I say last time?
18 minutes.
Okay. So now you've tripled it.
But will they, Tom? They're not going to tell us, guess what, in an hour, hunker down, because it could, because again, it could melt. There could just be pieces. It could be, they don't know. They don't know any of this stuff. They're not going to tell us, Tom. They're not going to tell us.
It's the same thing they're talking about the vaccine. We don't know. Tails, third eyes, psychic abilities, now you attracted to the refrigerators.
Well, I'm trying to just read all of the articles that are from, science-based articles as opposed to media-based, like it's going to crash, just to hear what they have to say about it. No one knows. They're being honest. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm also still reading about the vaccine because we're still learning things. And again, I feel like everybody has a right to take care of their own body. But also we are talking about the greater good here for our planet. And that's what concerns me is what's going to happen long term with this vaccine as far as the have and have nots. There are some people that can't. I have a friend that has immune issues, cannot get the vaccine. What does that mean for this person? You
Well,
know?
hopefully the rest of the society takes the shot and then we get herd immunity is what the goal is.
And there, I think we talked about this too. There are memes and statuses about which shot, because Pfizer is supposed to be like the hot chick shot. That's the shot and so yesterday I was talking to someone at work and I said, hey, have you gotten the vaccine? How do you feel about it? And here's what he said verbatim. He goes, I only got Moderna. He said, I wanted Pfizer. He's a young guy. So it's just interesting how we built that up too.
You're branding it.
Yeah, it's becoming a brand. And so all the hot people got Pfizer. So,
shit, I got Johnson & Johnson. What's
get
that?
out of here. You can't even date anymore.
It's a bad third. Johnson & Johnson.
You're done. I don't know if we'll have time today with David coming on, but if not, we'll do this next week. I got fascinated with, because I know, with hopefully people are wanting to see the end of COVID, how does that affect dating, online dating versus in-person dating? And so I'll be curious to see what your thoughts are on it too, because I feel like people do want to get out in the world, but they're not sure how to do it, right?
Right. I was surprised to see how many guys I played basketball with haven't been vaccinated. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Did they
I know
say
this
why?
big. I'm sorry.
Did they say why?
I think I just say that the fact that they're not vaccinated says it all. So that we're not going to see eye to eye with whatever you say next, and whatever I say next, we're not going to be in agreement. I'm just saying. I just told these guys this is real. I've known people that really have gotten really sick.
Yeah.
And long-term, health concerns, and you won't be able to play basketball anymore if you get this everything thing and it goes badly. Some people are unaffected and some people are dead and some people are in the middle. Why even take the chance? I saw a doctor. They're doing studies on the kids now, 12 to 16.
Okay.
And they did a study of 2,200 volunteers.
Okay.
Half got the placebo, half got the vaccine. Out of the 1,100 that got the placebo, 18 got COVID. None of the 1,100 got COVID that were vaccinated.
Okay.
And the doctor's like, simple. Do you want your kids to be in this group or do you want your kids to be in that group? You may not get vaccinated and you may not get COVID, but nobody got COVID over here.
And I do listen. I mean, I had the fears that a lot of people have are long-term effects. Yes, I do believe they put their smartest people on this. No doubt they know what they're doing. I'm not downing the science. My concern, I feel like, is legitimate, which is we don't know long-term effects. But I weighed in my head, for me, with work, with life, with my age, I would like to get back to life. I would. Yeah. And so for me, but I'm trying to be so careful to not to listen to other people. I feel like right now with everything that's going on in the world in the pandemic, I'm now in a very serious debate with someone that private messaged me on Facebook about Black Lives Matter, because this person feels like it's an illegitimate, institution, and that his words were, what about all this black on black crime? Why you always got to blame the cops? So instead of getting mad, I thought, you know what? He's asking, let's try. Right. I'm trying to have a dialogue. And so his response right now, and I understand it, because you know what? I have plenty of prejudices myself about different things in life. I'm trying to do better. He said, well, where I grew up in New Jersey, you need to look up this housing complex. I have horrible stories to tell you. And so I said, you know what? Yeah, we all have horrible things.
Of course.
Just because you had a horrible experience at a New Jersey housing project doesn't mean cops are justified in killing Black people. So the sad thing is he had such bad experience, he can't even open up to, he's like, yeah, kill him. I've had it, where he can't see past his hate, right?
It's crazy. Yeah.
So I'm trying to have a conversation of like, look, I don't know all the answers. Here's what I said. Here's what I read. Would you mind looking at this? Then I said, please, let's continue talking. I want to talk to you. I don't want to get mad at you. I don't want to be upset, because I remember when I was young and married, my husband convinced me to be very afraid of a lot of things that now I'm like, oh, that was ridiculous. But I had legitimate fears, because in my head, I made up a story about what was safe and what wasn't safe based on my environment.
right.
So, and then, we'll talk about dating too, because I think there's a lot of fear with dating too.
I
Right?
know. Well, guess who just walked into our waiting room? From
Well,
dating room to waiting room.
well, if our guest is here, I say let's just get him on in here so we can have this talk, because this is a really good book and I'm excited that he had the time that he could come in and chat with us. Oh,
He looks a little bit different than his cover, than the picture on the book.
like that everybody has their, there he
Oh, there we go.
is.
That matches
There's
with reality.
David.
The dog is much better looking than I am.
You said it before I did.
We like that little tease. So David, it's so good to see you.
It's great to see you, Melinda, and good to see you too, Tom.
Nice to meet you,
Yes.
David. Thank you. Good to see you.
We want to get right into it, David, but just real briefly, I just want to, catch everybody up, because, one of the great things about being able to have a podcast is that you can connect with people. And, David and I went to high school. We graduated together.
That's crazy.
And I'm proud to say that, it's been a long time, but that through social media and everything that we've been able to get together. We met up when he came to New York and ran the steps at the Empire State Building. So again, Tom and I talk about a lot about relationships and how important those things are. So David's got a really great story, and I just encourage everybody to keep nurturing those relationships, because who would have thought, David, right? That graduating high school together. And where do you live now?
I live just outside of Washington, D.C.
Yeah. So did you ever think when you were finishing high school in, little Worshipville, Indiana, that one day you would be in DC, I'd be in New York, and we'd be having this podcast conversation?
Oh, never in a million years. I always tell people that when I graduated from college, I left Indiana and kept moving east until I ran out of land.
It's wet. Stop. Go back.
I love that. Well, so David, you have a great story. Tom was able to dig into your book. So Tom, do you want to start off with what you'd like to?
I know there were parts of it that I really enjoyed and I could really relate with. The Fitbit part.
There you go.
3. I don't have your record of 7, or whatever that was.
7. I killed 7 of them.
But that's isn't it amazing that this little thing around your wrist starts controlling your, starts setting goals for you and keeps you on your path. But please tell your entire story.
I have a Garmin watch now, and if I sleep late in the morning, it will tell me move, and so I'll roll over in bed and wait till it tells me to move again.
There you go. Move. So David, we really want to encourage everyone to read your book. So can you give us the synopsis? Because I know you have limited time.
Sure.
What you'd like people to know about your journey. It's been fascinating.
Sure. The short version of the book is in 2004, I had a motorcycle accident and pretty much blew up my spine. It was fractured in 3 places. And before I went into a 7.5-hour surgery, the doctor said, I don't know if you're going to walk again.
Wow.
And was in the hospital for close to 3 months, off work for 6 while I had to learn to stand and walk again. But over time, I not only walked, but I figured out that I could actually do more than that. And I went from a wheelchair to running the Marine Corps Marathon. And in the book, I talk about all the obstacles that everybody encounters, that everybody has things they get thrown in front of them. Yeah. Everybody has places they want to go. And what I found was the hardest part was not trying to go after the goal or achieve or overcoming the obstacle. The hardest part was getting off my butt and getting out the door.
Yeah.
And once I did, the rest was easy.
Yeah. Get out the door. It's very important. I mean, David, do you think that had you not had this motorcycle accident, that your life would be very, very different than it is now?
Yeah, I think sometimes you need a push to move in a particular direction. And if this hadn't happened, I don't know that I would have done the same things because there wasn't that pressure to do that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think if something bad happens, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be bad as a result. I think there are things that you can take from that experience and apply to move yourself in a better direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the interesting people you've met along the way because of your achievements.
Oh, I would not have imagined all the people that I've connected to that either have similar experiences or have been inspired by my experiences, it's opened up a whole new world.
Yeah, which is incredible. So tell us about your journey about putting this book together. I would imagine that's a very complicated process to actually get from thinking about it to achieving this.
Yeah, to turning it into a product. It was, that's telling the story. It took me a long time to figure out how to tell the story,
Okay.
because I think, especially with a lot of either obstacle stories or achievement stories, it's easy to fall into the trap of it's all about me.
Yeah.
And when people would read it, say, well, that's good for you. Well, how does that relate to me? So it took me like 5 years to figure out, okay, how do I turn this around to something that's more universal?
Yeah.
That was the biggest part. Then it was writing the story, but I had already been writing pieces of it as part of my blog.
Yeah.
And so constructed that. Then I got with a professional editor who, if you're going to write a book, get a good editor.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So she helped me take the story and put it in a structure that made sense. And if you read the book, it actually ends up being almost like a television series. So you've got your cold open.
Yeah.
Then you go back to before the event to see how that story goes together, and then you follow that character all the way through.
Yeah.
Where the story eventually ends up. So she was very helpful. And then things like, designing the cover and getting endorsements and all, that was a process in and of itself.
Right.
So, but as far as the writing, that took about 6 weeks.
Oh.
But then it took another 1.5 years to turn it into an actual physical book.
Okay. Yeah. That's that. Did you did you take time aside and go, I'm just going to focus on the book, or did you do it in bits and pieces and still you were working and living your life?
Well, I really didn't take time off of work. It was fit it in where you can, try to write a little bit every day.
Okay.
And the actual sitting down and writing was done about over 6 weeks. And then the rest of it, over the next 6 months, I worked with my editor to take that story, as well as the other pieces that I need to bring in from other sources, to turn it into an actual draft.
Yeah.
And then we went through several more editing cycles to streamline it into what turned out to be the final story. And then the whole publishing part of it, that's really what took about 1.5 years.
I bet.
Is trying to find the right publisher, the right format. I went through about 8 different versions of this cover.
I bet.
As I also ended up printing it out. So there's a large print version.
Oh, nice.
Actually, there's no large print version. That's just the one that's the one that if it goes on the wall in the background, you can still read it.
Nice.
Okay.
Instead of having to have it in the foreground. So
there you go.
It was quite a process, and I learned a lot. So once I learned that, I'm actually working on the next 3 or 4 books.
Good.
So what about a tip for somebody that's stuck? We all get, you wake up and you realize, my gosh, it's been 6 months since I started something new. I remember learning a piano. I learned how to play a little song on the piano, but then it's like, my gosh, you learned that 5 years ago. When's the next thing?
Sure.
So what do you do to unstuck yourself and get going again?
That's one point that I make in the book, is if you find yourself in one place, is you don't have to go in the right direction. There's no perfect direction or no perfect path to go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I tell people, do one thing. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It's because once you're in motion, whether physically or emotionally, it's a lot easier to do the next thing.
Yeah.
It's like sitting in the driveway. If you sit in a parked car and you turn on the car, but you try to turn the wheel, it's very hard.
Yeah.
But once you get going, you can steer in any direction you want to go. And once you're at highway speeds, you can do that with one finger. So once you're in motion, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Then you can figure out, okay, how do I go to a place better than where I am right now?
I love that.
I like that analogy because it makes sense. If anybody's ever driven, especially without power steering, you better be in motion to make that thing turn.
Yeah, in high school, we call that Armstrong steering.
So is it lists? What is there something that you say, okay, every morning have 10 things and make sure you accomplish 3?
No, I never put down a list.
What?
I know some people live and die by their to-do list, and this is the one thing I've got to get done today. Goals are important.
Yeah.
And knowing what you need to do is important. But if you tie yourself to, I've got to do these 3 things to make it positive, it's easy to fall in the trap of, well, I didn't do all 3, so why not quit?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like why New Year's resolutions don't work.
Right.
Is the first day you miss going to the gym,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's easy to turn that into 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect at anything. I think
I love that. That's so important. David, say that again. That's so important.
I have to remember what I said.
You don't have to be perfect.
You don't have to be perfect. You just have to make progress.
Yes.
Garmin, again, my watch here, they have their slogan is beat yesterday.
Oh.
You don't have to beat a world record or some major achievement. It's a little bit of progress. You do that, and then you're good.
Yeah, in your book, you talked about going jogging from light pole to light pole, and then walking, and then I'm just going to jog. What is it, 30 yards from light pole to light pole?
Oh yeah, it was literally that's all I could do.
Yeah.
And eventually that turned into a mile, then a 5K, and then literally within 1 year, I went from not running at all to running a half marathon.
That's amazing.
It's so impressive. Yeah. So do you feel like, David, because you had this experience and you chose to become a stronger person, a more a healthier person, right? How can you encourage people to get your book so they can learn from you how you learned to make that choice? A lot of us, when we get down and depressed, especially during this time in our lives, it's so hard to get out of that funk, to get out of that, like, you know what, maybe tomorrow, maybe I'll do better tomorrow. So what advice do you have for people?
Well, is to, again, do something today.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what.
I love it.
Because a lot of us get stuck in that path of preparing to do something and getting everything just so that
getting business cards
makes it easy. But again, that ended up being the title of the book.
Yeah.
Get out the door.
Yep.
Once you do, the rest is easy. And not that it's all easy.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of tough stuff in there. But once you're in motion, it becomes a lot easier to stay in motion.
Amen.
And if you get knocked down, get back up.
How's the rowing coming along?
What's that?
How's the rowing? I'm a big proponent of rowing now.
I have a Concept 2 rower downstairs, and
See, Melinda?
I've rowed a lot of meters and miles in my basement. And one of the things that Concept 2, they have the world ranking.
Yeah.
And I think I can be in world ranked if I put in the 80 to 85 age group. So my actual rowing capability is a lot lower than that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what other people do.
You're just competing with yourself anyway at the end of the day.
And it's a great way to watch Netflix and catch up on Tiger King. So.
I just discovered rowing about 3 months ago, and I love it. I said, this is low impact. I could do this as an old person, as an old man. I can still row. I'm not, because that's a concern. You start doing something that you get injured, right? You start running, you pull something, or maybe, but so I'm looking for things that I can do and diminish the opportunity to get hurt. So I think rowing is almost perfect.
Yeah, and the important thing about whatever activity you decide is the one or two or three or four that you want to do is have fun doing it.
Yes.
Whether it's running, and when I run or walk, it's because I get away from everybody else, and be able to get in my own head and do that. But if I'm on the bike, it feels like when I was a kid again.
Nice.
That feeling of flying.
I love it.
And you don't run into that very often. So I love being on the bike. So do something that's fun, and you'll keep doing it.
Is that an outside bike or inside bike?
I have an outside bike and an inside.
Look at you. Can't hide money, as my neighbor used to say.
Yeah. It depends on where the bike happens to be, whether it's outside or inside.
Right. Very
That's
nice.
so great. So can David tell people how they can reach out to you, because you also are a speaker. You
Yep.
do lots of things. How can people find you or reach out to you? We'll post it on our site, but also can you share that with everyone?
Sure. I am on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, yada, 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 yada.
Uh-huh.
But if you look for Holliworks, HOLLIWORKS, hollyworks.com is my website. And that's my handle on Facebook, Instagram, and lots of other places. So
Good.
if you go to hollyworks.com, you can sign up for a free chapter to download of Get Out the Door. And you'll also be on the list to get my stories every week, because I put out new stories on the blog every week. Right now, I'm working through stories from when I was a kid back in Indiana. And those will go into a future book.
Very nice. How exciting. Well, thank you for the book, and thank you for the inscription, and thank you for the nice note. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Melinda. Melinda, it's always great to catch up with you, and look forward to seeing you both on whatever channel you happen to be on.
That's right.
That's great.
I love
That's
it.
right. We'll share it with you. We'll definitely keep in touch, and thank you. We're going to recommend this book and everybody to follow you on your blog. So thanks for your time. I know you're super busy and you've got to get back to work, but thank you for taking the time to share with us today.
Thank you both, and have a super weekend.
Thanks,
Thank
David.
you, David.
Okay.
See ya.
See ya.
You gotta let yourself out.
It's so great. Yeah, I don't know the technology and on how to make anybody hang up or anything. It's so great to talk to someone that you've known from a long time ago and see, no matter what happened to them, because we all have bad stuff, right? You and I have shared, we've had moments where we're like, I don't know if I can come back from this. Neither one of us have had you had the Lyme's disease, which was a really big deal.
So I related to him recovering like that because I couldn't walk out to the mailbox. I started jogging. I had a stranger ask me if I needed help.
Wow.
You need help, old man? Hey, you look like you're not doing so good.
Wow. I think for me, the scariest physical thing that happened to me was I was in my 40s, and within a matter of hours, I lost all the vision in my left eye. It just went away. And I had to go, I immediately, thank goodness I had insurance. I immediately went to the doctor. The doctor said, nope, go to a retina specialist. Like, it was just like boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
It was scary because they didn't know what it was. And because they didn't know what it was, they immediately sent me to the hospital, and they had to keep everybody away from me because they didn't know what was happening of other things. Yeah. So they were asking me, I had every kind of test to see if I had anything contagious. It was very scary. And I'll tell you the creepiest part about the whole thing. When they took me to the hospital, because they honestly couldn't understand what was happening with me. I was married at the time, and they had my husband in the room, and they said, we have to ask you some very personal questions. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's figure it out. And they wanted to know about, sexual partners and this and that. And, I had been faithful. And so I had no problem, but I can laugh about it now, Tom. But when it happened, my husband, who, was sitting, I could see him. He had that moment of like, you could tell he was uncomfortable. And I looked at the doctor, and the doctor, he had a quick recovery, and he said, hey, you know what? Just for privacy, I'm going to have Melinda. He made it sound like he was doing me a favor and I thought, you motherfucker, I'll deal with that later because I'm losing my vision. But you all have those moments of where you look back and you go, wow. And I'm thrilled to say that obviously I recovered, but whenever I get tired or stressed out, I start to worry because I feel, you know what I mean? When you ever have that weak part of your body where you're
Right.
like, hey, is everything okay? But David went through it. I mean, to be told that hey, I don't know if you're going to walk again. That's some big stuff.
So what happened with your eye? I never heard this story.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, yeah. So basically, they couldn't totally figure it out. The short version was, because I was a working mom, I was super busy. I was actually like 100 pounds at that point. I was under a lot of stress with work and everything, that I was trying to be the mom that does everything. And this is terrible. I wasn't eating properly, right? And it doesn't take long for your body to start to fall apart. I was drinking 4 Mountain Dews a day,
Go on.
and eating Snickers bars, and that's all because I was busy. I didn't have time.
Is this your new diet plan? Go on. Let me get a pencil.
4 Mountain Dews and at least 2 Snickers, and I was living on fumes. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't. And so what the doctors came down to was they said, hey, you had a scratch in your eye, and your body was already starting to fall down. Whatever virus you picked up went for your eye first, and it was just going to start destroying everything else. So I had to have 2 weeks of bed rest. I had to have a patch over my eye because I learned you can't just cover the eye that's weakened, because then the other eye makes up for it and works twice as hard. So my kids were little. I had to lay in bed for 2 weeks and let everybody do everything for me. And it was very difficult for me because, as a parent, your kids have activities and this, and of course everybody stepped in and helped me, but it really taught me a very big lesson on, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not good to anybody else. And I definitely would have lost my vision had I kept on that path.
Wow. So what about your husband? Did he come clean? What happened there?
Of course not.
Did the doctor ask, could you also, besides the patch, can you put blinders on her so she can't see what I'm up to?
I guess when you lose your vision, you don't see all the red flags. And,
wow.
And honestly, here's another thing.
That's the name of your book.
Well, yeah, maybe that is a good title. When you're compromised, and I'm sure you can attest to this, and David too, when you're compromised and you're tired and you're weak, you have to pick which battles you're going to fight. You can only do so much.
Absolutely.
And my children were very young, and I didn't want to believe the worst case scenario, so I chose not to. And then, of course, they came up with the whole, you just got a random virus. They never did figure it out. But the most traumatic thing happened was when I was at the retina specialist, and I didn't know this about your eyeballs. Your eyeballs can take a lot of pressure. And so I was sitting there talking to him. He grabbed a needle. I didn't even know. He had it behind his back. He came up, he goes, hold still. Boom, stuck a needle directly in my eyeball. And then he explained that, that was the quickest way to find out what was going on. And he didn't tell me because most people obviously
run.
So the second time he did it, I actually wasn't as nervous because it didn't hurt. I was in so much pain with the throbbing that I couldn't feel the needle. And he explained to me that you really can't feel it. It was kind of crazy.
Okay. We're gonna have to put a warning on this episode now. You may be triggered when you hear the needle in the eyes.
But I do recommend, if people like stories, human interest stories, or a story that's really going to motivate you, David has a lot of content in this book about where he came from, how he overcame these things, because I think as most of us, as we age, it's so much easier to just sit back and relax, right? And go, look, I've done stuff. David's actually getting stronger and doing more as he's getting older because of this incident where, he got so tragically hurt on the motorcycle. And the story of how someone found him, the whole thing was stunning.
It's crazy, but it's all moving forward. Roll the ball forward.
I like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't, just do a little bit.
Absolutely, because we're all on our own path anyway. Either you do it for yourself or you're not going to do it. No one can do it for you.
It's hard with social media because you do compare, right? You look at other people and you're like, oh, look what they've done. They're so far, they've progressed. But it makes sense that if you just do you.
Amen. Yeah, I remember looking at Roy Spear, richest man I probably ever meet. He was on the billionaires list from Forbes 500. I think he's on the Forbes 100.
Yeah.
He had such bad health, overweight, always in pain. It's like, you can't buy the health. You got to do it yourself.
No. And David's book is a good reference about that. Look how he couldn't even jog from pole to pole, and look where he ended up. When I met him, and we had kept in touch on social media, and he said, hey, I'm going to run the steps up the Empire State Building. You want to meet up? And I was like, yeah, but are you crazy? Because I didn't know, his whole story. When you read about what it takes to run up imagine it. I get winded just walking up.
Is there a barking dog involved?
It's a very impressive adventure. It's hard for the youngster. So the fact that David did at the point in his life when he did, it's just so encouraging. And now he's doing public speaking. And I think that also is one of the people's biggest fears, right? Speaking in public.
Or speaking in Publix.
or speaking in public. I don't think you or I struggle with that. I think
No.
we don't mind speaking, but I truly get why it's a fear. And you're getting ready to do some shows today, and I think we've talked about this, but before you do a segment, before you do an HSN airing, do you get a little, are you always like, oh,
I tell you, I was doing the hose today.
Yeah.
And I always get excited, and I'm in the middle of an explanation. And if I stammer or I have to repeat myself, I go, here it comes. This is where the wheels come off completely on live TV. The wheels are off because there's a pace to working with somebody. I'm not going to talk for 20 minutes straight. I'm going to talk for 45-second bits and then toss it back to him. He does 45. So it's like a little tennis match. So I did like a minute, and I can't see anybody. I'm working blind. And I thought I tossed it back to Guy, and he didn't say anything. We had dead air for 10 seconds.
That's so stressful. That's so stressful.
Whatever. Either we're off the air or Guy's had a heart attack. One of the two.
No, you're right. You're right. So you have shows today. Tell everybody what you're selling.
Hey, we got an exciting hose product from the good folks at Telebrand. The super pocket hose, the black bullet.
Well, when you say hose, HOSE,
yeah,
right? What exactly? It's an outdoor, like
it's one of those soft pocket hoses. It collapses 50 foot hose. I'm holding and putting inside of a bucket, inside of a pot, a clay pot that you have for a plant. It just collapses down to nothing. So if you lived in a condo or storage was a concern, or you just don't want to be lugging around a big heavy hose, this hose goes into 50 feet of it, shrinks down to nothing. It expands when you fill it with water. The problem with these hoses in the past is they would burst. They couldn't take the pressure, right?
Okay.
Now they've been working on the casing. Now they've got a hemp fiber.
Okay.
Stretches, soft as cotton, strong as steel.
The point is good. Soft as cotton, strong as steel. I like it.
It's lightweight. It's nice. It's nice. It's a fun little pitch. So Patrick and I, he's being the cameraman, we're running around the pool today. I'm all the way in the back, walking around with the hose. Yeah. So it's been fun. So we've had two good shows.
What times are you on today?
I'm on in the 3 o'clock hour. So this will be, but I'll be on tonight at 11 p.m. Nice. On Saturday on 11 a.m. and on Monday at, I think, 10 p.m.
Okay.
Busy boy. Plus I'm doing the new skeeter trapper.
Okay. You got a lot going on. Well, before we close, I want to remind everyone, in case they don't know, Sunday is Mother's Day. So
what?
If you need to get something, do it now. I see Amazon is still offering overnight delivery. Some flower shops are offering 24 hours. So get on it. If at the very least, call your mama or call someone who is a mom who maybe doesn't have family. Being a mom is not easy.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And happy Mother's Day to you, dear.
Thank you so much. And we'll be watching some of your shows later tonight. We want to thank our guest, David Hollingsworth. We'll send you all the information so you guys can look up his blog and his book. And it's a great story.
Absolutely. That's another one in the can. My name's Tom Wise.
And I'm Melinda McKinsey.
Thanks for stopping by and unpacking some shit. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.